A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 133rd edition of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. More than a year ago, in April 2020, when the pandemic had just started, we at Notebook felt that it was our responsibility to put together a platform where educators could come and share the various problems that they were facing and find common solutions. Little did we know that more than a year and a half later, I would be inviting all of you to the 133rd episode. It is your love and appreciation that keeps us going, and for that, I must thank each and every one of you. Over the course of these many months, we have discussed a myriad range of topics. We have discussed topics that are extremely curricular, stuff like NEP, what goes on in a classroom, lesson planning. We've even discussed extracurricular, sports, holistic development, and even evolved topics like mental health and social learning. Today, we look at something that I hold very close to my heart personally. When we were in school, every year, a few new students would join in. They were the new boys or the new girls, and they would be dealt with specially by the teachers. It was always an incredible exchange of experiences, of thoughts, of anecdotes from their previous schools and our old experiences. However, logistically speaking, they pose quite the challenge for institutions. We are always troubled as to how to handle these new people who have perhaps come up in a different culture, in a different setting, perhaps in a different place. And today we look at this particular topic, lateral entries. Our first speaker for the topic is Achin Bhattacharya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a fellow of the ICAI and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interests in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shoaib, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
Once again, welcome all of you to today's session. So, regarding to today's topic, whenever I hear this term lateral entries, so this is a topic that we can look at from different perspectives. As practically, lateral entries do exist in each and every aspect of life. But when I first heard this topic, the first thing that came to my mind is an advertisement in that I think was published in March this year, March 2021. The Union Public Service Commission, UPSC, had issued an advertisement seeking application from talented and motivated Indian nationals willing to contribute towards nation building for post of joint secretary. I think 3 joint secretaries and 27 directors in various central government departments. And these individuals would make a lateral entry into the government secretary. Contractual jobs for 3 to 5 years. Now, in normal course, only career bureaucrats from All India Services or Central Civil Services are normally appointed to these positions, normally IS officers with decades of experience. A joint secretary appointed by the appointment committee of the cabinet has the 3rd highest rank after secretary and additional secretary. So we all understand that this is very senior. So naturally there were debates, there were discussions, there were rationality, and this was the second round of appointment. Earlier, I think 10 positions in joint secretary level, and I think 40 positions at deputy secretary or director level were advertised in 2018, if I'm not wrong. And more than 6,000 applications were received. So talented Indian nationals who at least hold a PhD degree and who are willing to contribute towards nation building above 40 years of age. So I really found this very interesting. Of course, there are merits and demerits. We can keep discussing this. But in a country as huge as ours, where there is so much of talent, so much of technological advancement, I think this is a good way to look at it. Of course, the modalities, the procedure, etc., those are different things. But when we discuss something like lateral entry, and as I told you, we can look at it from different perspectives. Very often, we see a lot of criticism coming in. Sometimes decisions are wrong, right? Sometimes decisions are wrong. But as far as our concern is, as far as today's topic is, we'll try to focus on its application in teaching. And I would like to share with you a few relevant examples. I went through a very interesting research study. I would like to share some excerpts from there. And post that, of course, we have a wonderful panel here today. We'd love to hear from them with regard to their practical experience on this very interesting topic. So when we discuss about something like this in teaching, an ideal example would be, say, for example, a mid-career change. A copywriter, which maybe... Hello? I think there was some background noise. A copywriter, maybe, with a degree in journalism, who decides to enter the teaching profession, maybe as an English teacher. Or maybe an engineer who decides to take up the job of a math teacher. So I read about a very interesting qualitative study that followed the career change of, and this is a global study, of 12 new lateral entry teachers who were tracked throughout their first 5 years of teaching. So this was a sample that was purposefully taken to understand their perspective of teaching before they begin their teaching career, during the course of their new career, and afterwards, after 5 years. What their reaction is, how they felt about the whole journey. Research reveals that globally, more than half of all new teachers leave the profession within first 5 years. That's alarming. So by careful analysis of the perspectives of the lateral entry teachers, naturally, retention can definitely be increased. Now, the 12 teachers who were chosen for this study came from various demographies. So very consciously, effort was made to include genders, age, location, subject area, grade level, background, to make the population as diverse as possible within a sample set of 12. And the study provides insights into why lateral entry candidates choose teaching as a new career, why they felt they would be successful in teaching, and whether or not they actually were. What perceptions of the teaching profession did these career changes share, and how? Or if these perspectives changed over a 5-year period. So as we all know, grass is greener on the other side. But actually, when you face the challenge, you go through the rigmarole. So what is its effect on you? And naturally, so one of the prime objectives of the study was the curiosity as to why they decided to change their careers. They're all doing fairly well in their own respective individual careers. These are all mid-career changes. Why they wanted to become teachers and what made them believe they could teach, even though they had no experience or training in teaching. So one is, of course, the general sentiments from the application seem to be that I'm not happy with what I'm currently doing. So I think I'll be a teacher. But then that's one part. That sentiment won't get you too far. How about the other aspects? How about experience? How about training? And we all know teaching is not an easy job. Many lateral entry applicants may be unaware of the level of skill and difficulty teaching requires. So I was reading about a particular instance, a case study of a lateral entry teacher in 2010 who eloquently expressed his feelings on his blog site. And what he wrote actually mirrored the attitude of many candidates in the study. He said, I used to be a molecular biologist. I spent my day culturing viruses, like before he came to teaching. Today, I'm a high school teacher. I spend my days culturing teenagers. He said sometimes when students get disruptive and he becomes, at times agitated, frustrated, and then he really understands that how serious or how difficult the job is and how much of responsibility this job demands. Now, teaching is, of course, is one of the toughest jobs. Everyone who has never done it thinks that they can do. And he said that when I made this switch from doing science to teaching science, he really initially felt that, of course, with his level of qualification experience, he can easily do it. But then he realized few aspects. And I think what I was reading, if I try to sum it up, some very interesting learnings from the study. First and foremost, he felt that teaching isn't fun. It just isn't making it fun for the kids. It's not only the academic content. Teaching is understanding how the human brain processes information and preparing lessons with this understanding in mind. Second, he felt that teaching is simultaneously instilling in a child the belief that he or she can accomplish anything that she wants, while admonishing her for producing shoddy work. He also felt that teaching is understanding both the psychology and the physiology behind the changes that an adolescent mind goes through, and also convincing maybe at times a defiant teenager that the work he sees no value in does serve a greater purpose in preparing him for the rest of his life. And of course, offering his sympathetic ear while maintaining a stern voice. And the responsibility of being a role model and a mentor to someone who may have neither at home and may not be looking for either. That goes on to prove how difficult the job is. And he concluded by saying, highly accomplished gentleman who did very well as a scientist, he went on to his concluding remarks were, teaching is not easy. Mr. Dennis Wong, he said, teaching is not easy. Teaching is not intuitive. Teaching is not something that anyone can figure out on their own. Education researchers, in fact, spend their lifetime developing effective new teaching methods. So, of course, teaching takes hard work and constant training. Yet many people have delusions that anyone can do what the typical teacher does on a typical day. Of course, there are exceptions. There are people who do maybe does a fantastic work, but we are discussing about the average. We're discussing about the general trend. Many people believe that they can teach. Many believe that what they can do is better than current teachers. But what qualifies non-teachers as experts on how to teach when their only frame of reference is their experience as a student? So the study went on to explain, and 3 relevant questions were asked, which I think were very important questions. First and foremost, what makes people change careers and become teachers? Second question, the most important one, what makes people believe they can teach? And third, and once they're immersed in the reality of teaching, do their perceptions of teaching change? And this is exactly what this 5-year period, when these 12 teachers were repeatedly interviewed at various intervals, the purpose was to understand that do perceptions actually change when they meet the reality over a period of 5 years. The high cost of teacher turnover that we discussed necessitates that a realistic picture of what teaching requires is being communicated to lateral entry teachers. It is important to study the experiences and perspectives to better understand why they want to teach, what can be done to improve services to them, and how to help them succeed, because it's in the best interest of everyone. So lateral entry teachers enter the teaching profession, of course, through a mid-career change. So there are some very interesting theories of education researchers with regard to career development and attempt to predict future success. For instance, Holland in 1992, in his career development theory, for example, describes relationship between personalities and work. His theory suggests that people need accurate knowledge and career information to make good career decisions. He went on to explain that people search for environments that enable them to use their skills and apply their attitudes and values in a comfortable setting. So in case of lateral entry teachers, this theory means that these candidates believe teaching is a good match for their skills and personality, and they'll be comfortable working in an academic setting. And here we are not only discussing about K-12, we have seen so many examples, especially in higher education, in research, number of examples. Scientists coming in to teach and doing fantastic. People from industry coming in and joining academia, best practice sharing. Of course, there are advantages as well. I think K-12 is where it gets most difficult. But lateral entry teachers are not, but the fact is that there's no formal training, experience, those are huge challenges. Some of them have limited exposure to teaching, maybe as research assistants in college, etc. Now, the other, I think, very interesting theory, which was written by Helen Moyer, outlines 5 phases through which this entire transition happens, teacher's transition. Anticipation. First of all, you do anticipate what's coming. Survival, once you're into it. Disillusionment, rejuvenation, and reflection. Now, how these phases correspond with the experience of these teachers, of these lateral entry teachers, were described in detail in this particular study. As we discussed, 12 teachers being taken together. And few research questions were asked, which are very important research questions, goes on to explain a lot. Because the study investigated the perspectives of these teachers before they entered classroom, throughout their first year of teaching, and 5 years after they began teaching. So the research questions were, first and foremost, what were the expectations and perspectives of these teachers before they began teaching? Second, how did the perspectives change over time, which is very significant? And third, by the end of the 5-year study, when after this entire period is over, it was seen that these teachers are in 3 different kinds of situations. First, there were some who were still teaching in the same school. There were some who were teaching in a different school. And there were some who were no longer teaching. They had gone back to their earlier jobs. In round 1, candidates were asked 11 questions. 6 were general background information and 5 about perspectives on teaching. So round 1 means before they started teaching. Round 2, 1 year into teaching. Questions comprised of 8 open-ended questions designed to determine teacher's current perspective of teaching and allow the teacher to reflect on the first year of experience. And who's that? Round 2 and round 3 questions were conducted at media. Round 4 question consisted of 4 to 5 reflective questions. That after 5 years, how to reflect on the whole situation. And many of them, so if we sum it up, as we discussed, that when they've described what teaching is, few very important things have come to the forefront. That these are skills that are required in order to be a good teacher. And it may be completely different Not necessarily if someone who is academically bright has done well, good for himself or herself in his or her own academic career as a student, who will do well as a teacher. It's a completely different specialized skill that requires years of hard work, training, experience, and perseverance, extreme amount of patience and maturity. So these are things that have come to the forefront. So I think these are a few thoughts that I wanted to share with all of you. And thank you for giving me a patient hearing. We have a wonderful panel here today. And this particular topic is a very practical topic. And I really look forward to hear from them, their perspective on this. Over to you, Shubhai.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for taking us through that wonderful perspective on how teachers manage lateral entries in and out of teaching. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we do have a fantastic panel lined up for you. But before we go on to the panel, a little bit about Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech product. We make short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. Now, these videos are of use in two places. One is when you as an educator want to give a visual introduction to the topic to all your students. You can play these short 6 to 10 minute long videos as an intro to the topic that you're about to teach. These can be played inside the class, whether online or offline, and help in engaging the students in a very creative visual way. The second use case is months later when the student has to prepare for an exam or a test. They have access to the same videos on their personal devices. Be it a smartphone or a laptop, students can watch these videos over and over again at home and get more acquainted with the topics that you are teaching. I will now play a short snippet of one of the Notebook videos before we go on to the panel discussion.
The circle is getting smaller and the darkness closer. If we could fly up into that blue sky into heaven, O circle, open wide and let us out. Hello, the voice you just heard was Anne Frank's. In today's video, we shall talk about how she came to write her famous diary. You may get a 10 marks question from her diary in your exams. It could have been the diary of any teenager, talking about little incidents that impact no one but herself. And yet, the contents of this diary shook the world. Let us first understand the context in which this diary becomes important before we start with the diary. The diarist is Anneliese Marie Frank, known more popularly as Anne Frank. She was born on 12th June 1929 in Germany. During World War II, she and her Jewish family migrated to Holland in Amsterdam to escape Nazi persecution. The National Socialist German Workers' Party, led by Adolf Hitler, came to power in Germany in the 1930s. It was called the Nazi Party for short. Did you know that the swastika symbol is 3,000 years old? Before the Nazi Party adopted the symbol, the swastika stood for power, strength, life, and good luck.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was just a short snippet from one of the Notebook videos. If you go onto our website www.notebook.school or use one of our mobile apps for Android and iOS, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that done now, it is now my privilege to introduce the wonderful panel that we have lined up for you today. We have with us Kabita Madhu, who holds an MSc and an MEd. She has been an educator for over 27 years, both in India and Muscat, Oman. She's had 8 years as principal of Army Public School Wellington for 6 years and presently is at the Meridian International School, Tiruchengodu as principal. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time and being here today. It's a privilege to have you. We also have with us Dr. Ambika Prasad Gaur, who holds a BSc, an MA in English, a B.Ed, an MBA, and a PhD. Dr. Gaur originally hails from Uttarakhand and has an experience of about 30 years in the field of education. He has worked as PGT, Assistant Professor in Management Institution in Noida, Educational Consultant with Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, the Nobel Laureate in Delhi, and has worked as principal in schools. He is presently working as a principal at the SOS Harman Minor School in Varanasi. He is also the author of more than a dozen books in Hindi and English. Sir, thank you so much for being back on the panel. Thank you so much for making the time and being with us today. We also have with us
Thank
Dr.
you.
You're welcome, sir. We also have with us Dr. Piyush Gupta. Dr. Gupta has more than 25 years of experience in the education field, including 10 years as heads of institutions. He has worked with some of the esteemed organizations like Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, GEMS Education, and Birla Schools. At present, he is playing the role of principal in Mount Litera Z School in Muzaffarnagar. He is the recipient of the Certificate of Honor as Best Principal of Muzaffarnagar in the Crystal Awards 2021 and Citation of Eminence in Principals Day Conclave for exemplary contribution to education and positive intervention to keep learning seamless during the pandemic period from Lifeology. He is a positive thinker, a motivational speaker, and a lifelong learner. He started his career as a hobby, which turned him into a passionate learning facilitator. He believes that knowledge shared is knowledge earned. Sir, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. It's a privilege to have you on the panel. I will now start my video and stop the screen share. Once again, a very warm welcome to the Together for Education panel. Ma'am, if I may first come to you. We've heard Achin speak about how teachers deal with their lateral entries in their career. However, I'm keen to also explore the students aspect of it. So, in a junior class, it is not that big a deal because most students are just into the school for the first few years. But as you go to, let's say, a class 7 or an 8 or even higher, how do you integrate these lateral entries into the classroom?
Well, good evening, everyone. And it's a pleasure being with you all today. And coming to the entry of students at lateral entry of students in the primary, you said is easier. Yes, but the expectations of parents are very high in the primary classes. As the children keep growing, the reference to parent-teacher relationship slowly starts reducing till they reach a board class. But in the intermittent stage, where students come in, say, 6, 7, 8 classes, there are students and teachers find a difficulty in relating what has happened earlier and what is happening in the new environment. Because teaching is a profession where everyone is unique. And in this uniqueness, they are used to a method and suddenly they are by force coming into an environment where it is totally new, friends are new, teachers are new, the society is new. So the adaptation does take a lot of time. And as you said, it is an age where the adolescent mind is very active. So these children find it difficult. So some of them adjust very well, but we do have to listen to them very kindly, give ear to their feelings, listen to them. Or if you see them isolating themselves, get them to get involved in the classroom activities. So the teachers and the students in the class must make it, encouraging for the child to participate in the class and welcome home. So this is the kind of environment we need to set up for the children. And yes, being in the army school for about 8 years, it's been an experience where we see children just coming in and going out. And it's a total adjustment every year or every 3 years. Children keep migrating from one station to another. It might have been from a cold environment to a warm environment or vice versa. So the situations do keep varying. So we find lateral entry of students, they keep a comparison. So the challenge is for the teachers to make these children feel that we are no way behind or we are better than what you have had an experience. So these children definitely have to go through a little bit of tightness, but I think the teaching community presently, people who are, like you said, the people with the lateral entries may be a little different, but in the teaching profession, people who have been in the profession for many years have a passion and they have the knack of getting children taken home. So I think this is very, very important in our schooling, especially. And it may change depending upon the years they come in and situations. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, if there's
Thank you.
one thing that we have learned about teachers in these last 1.5 years, is the kind of passion that you bring to the table when it comes to doing what you do. I would be extremely amiss if I were to refer to it as a job. Uh, Dr.
Thank
Gaur, if
you.
I may, thank you, ma'am. Dr. Gaur, if I may come to you next. Sir, what happens with students who are, let's say, shifting schools in the board years, class 9 or class 10? How do you ensure that the new environment does not cause them to kind of lose interest or fall back behind in their studies?
Thank you, Mr. Roy. As I think Kavita ma'am has mentioned certain things. She has got experience of working in these army schools and all. And as in army schools, we have generally seen the trend that the students they change because once the parents are transferred, so obviously together with the transfer of the parents, the children are also transferred to some other school. That's obvious. But in more traditional schools like that of mine, so fortunately, we don't face that particular problem here, but there are problems are there definitely. See, this is the month of September going on, right? And there are many people, those who are still putting in the admission, they are really interested in taking admissions. The classes, though virtually running since April, and definitely 5-6 months have passed, and the children, those who are coming new, they will definitely have one or the other problem. The first problem comes, as ma'am has told, is about the environment, the peer groups, the classmates, because it's difficult. In fact, after coming to the school after 6 months, once you know the children, those who have been there since April, they have already gone through a large chunk of course. And the children who are coming now, they will be definitely having. So first pressure is that the children are having that pressure of covering of the syllabus, the curriculum that has been already taught, and all of a sudden, then they don't have the friends also. Well, where from they can ask some help from the students. I mean their classmates. So that problem definitely comes. But here the role of the teachers and the people, those somewhat those who are responsible for this, the coordinators, the principal, all that their role comes in. So as you know, our school is concerned, I have got one concept of buddies, right? So we have the student buddy. Anyway, excuse me, please. So there are some buddies, those who are coming, who are given, who are allotted. Some of the students those who are coming, joining, suppose today only or tomorrow or say 1 month back. So a buddy student is given to them. Like generally a student who is uh, a little bit prompt in his studies and other things, and definitely who is able to help out the others, who is able to convey the problem of this particular child to the teachers. I mean, a person who is definitely a sort of leader. So we make that person buddy to the newcomer, so that buddy helps out in one or the other way, or rather in all the ways. So some of the problem is sorted out. And well, when there are certain problems which cannot be sorted out by the buddy, so of course then there are the coordinators, there are the vice principals, there are the principals. Of course, the principal is the ultimate source of that, and principal can always use the power key well, calling the students, other students of the same class, and then producing this child also, this newcomer. Well, you have to help this person out. So in that way, some sort of adjustment is made, undoubtedly. So far as class 10th and 12th are concerned, they are known as the direct admissions. So we generally don't prefer, rather, no school, no good school prefers those direct admissions. Admissions generally in class 10th and 12th are somewhat avoided. Well, the reason is that the children, those who are coming in class 10th or class 12th, so class 9th or class 11th, they have already been taught in some other school. So the problem comes of the optional subject. In this earlier school, in class 9th to class 11th, they must have read some other optional, and here in our school, there may be different optional. So number one, that particular problem comes, and then a lot of lot of the emails and all other to be sent to CBSE, so that to adjust this to accommodate this particular child in class 10th or 12th. So that particular problem comes. So that's why most of the schools they generally avoid. But in case if it is again to be done, so of course we are the educationists. We are generally, of course, for the students only. We have to do every bit possible, like sending mails regularly to CBSE, then reminder mails that the child, this child has, has learned some other optional than in class 9, but in class 10th is to be changed, or in class 11 the optional was something different, and the course was different. Like we have got Hindi course A, course B, English course A, course B, like that. So definitely, we have to pursue that particular thing. We have to pursue them in class 10th, and that's what I have already told that generally the principals they avoid taking the direct admissions in class 10th and 12th, and in other classes, the junior classes, Kavita ma'am has told that most of the problem comes in junior classes. Senior students, those who are coming in class 9th, class 8th, or class 11th, so they don't face much of the problem because they are grown-up children. So somehow they are tactful enough also to manage themselves. But then the problem comes of these students, like KG students, class 1, 2, and all. And so there the teachers have to be a little bit more proactive, on the part for such students, and we have to be a little bit more considerate. So there also a concept that I told, the buddy concept, but in LKG, UKG, class 1, 2, that buddy concept is also not going to work that much. But then I'll repeat that the role of the teachers, the coordinators, the principals, the class teachers, it comes into fold, and we have to do everything. This again, repeating the same statement that we are the teachers. We are everything is for the students. So we have to be a little bit more considerate for such children. So it's over to you. Round one.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
It's round one, no? Mr. Roy.
Yes.
Yes. It's round one, Mr. Roy. No?
Yeah.
You'll again come back to me.
Yeah, obviously. I have multiple questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much for letting us, an insight into how you manage the academy.
Mr. Roy,
Yes,
actually, I think you are Mr. Roy. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah. I think basically this concept is this one. The concept as such was basically for the college-going students, right? But now, acha hua ki you have brought this concept there in the schooling also, and at least I think this is the first time that I'm hearing such discussion on such topic. So you are really unique people. Basically, this literal entries, this is basically a college concept where somebody has passed the graduation in 2 years. Like I was also one of the lucky persons to complete my graduation in 2 years, and then after that, after our batch passed out graduation, after that it was 3-year graduation course. So of course we are somewhat misfit somewhere, right? So for that a sort of bridge course was started by the university. So there that was basically for those lateral entrance, and somehow the concept was basically for the college students. But now I'm very happy that somehow आप समझे हैं उस बात को, means you people really I appreciate that. And this is the first time that, in any panel I have heard about this word, and this is the very first time that I'm discussing this about this in context of the school students also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations for that.
Over the last 1.5 years, this has been our attempt that let us look at every single granular little detail of the entire school
Right.
system, and through a process
Yeah.
of dialogue and exchange, come and
Right.
arrive at a consensus on what would be the best practices. Dr. Gupta, if I may come
Right.
to you next, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Gaur told us about the academic aspect of it, but in my mind, the bigger challenge is obviously the more cultural aspect. For example, when we went from class 10 to class 11 in our school, there were a lot of new students who came in and joined. A few of them were outgoing and outspoken, and they became part of the gang in just a couple of hours. But the more introverted ones, they took a lot of time to get integrated into our friends group, so to say. So how do you manage this cultural disconnect issue?
When a child changes his school, there are 3 aspects which are to be taken care of. That is, one is educational, obviously. Another one is social, as you are telling, that social and behavioral. And sometimes, in some cases, we find linguistic character also. Because sometimes we get a student from a state board. and he's now shifting to or ICSE board to CBSE board. Because usually I have seen a trend that people do 10th by ICSE board, then they shift to CBSE board for plus 12. So these things are there. Now, first, we have to find out the background of the child. Whenever we are, means usually everyone doesn't do it, but one thing is always there in the TC, reason of leaving the school. And we just take the TC and keep it in our file, and no one reads that. What was the reason of leaving the school? Whether it was transfer, if it is transfer, so for means whether a child is in transfer from MP to UP, or he is just transferred from nearby district to this district. That all is to be seen, because cultural difference comes with a distance also. So that
Right.
background needs to be checked. Another very important thing is when we talk about educational, because even if it is the same curriculum pan India or even in different countries for CBSE, still when you change the school, a different kind of means teaching methodology you will find. Means even we as a principals face this when we change the school. The school we change, and we find a different kind of environment over there. Otherwise, curriculum is same, everything is same. Still, we find the difference, and we have to adjust. Means we have to adjust ourselves also, and we have to change something for them also. So these changes, when simply a teacher or even principal is facing, how the child is going to cope up with that. And now it is the responsibility of the school, or we can say of the principal through his staff, to make sure that the child is settled in that. Like Dr. Gaur said, the buddy system. When I was in boarding school, we used to call it student guardian. That we used to appoint a student guardian with every new student, so that he makes him comfortable with the system of the school, whether it is routine or it is means whatever is there. So induction, we call it induction program. Induction program for a child is very important, and that is important for even teachers. Whenever new teacher comes,
Right.
induction program should be there, so that they can be made familiar to our system of education, our system of imparting education.
Right.
Next, then is their competency test. One is we take admission test. Admission test is a different, that we see whether a child suits to a particular class or not. But competency test we can take even in between also. Means a child is there with us for 4 years, still we can take competency test, and we have to find out the areas where a child is lacking. Then we need to find out the learning habits of a child, because everyone knows that they have different students have different learning habits. So we should find out learning habits of the child, and accordingly blended teaching should be made for a child. And if we are able to do all these things, I believe that we will be reaching to a net conclusion. And definitely a role of class monitor and class teacher is very, very important, because class monitor is all every time he is there in the class with the students, and class teacher is a in-house parent of a child. So role of these two is very important, and definitely whenever required, as per the requirement, we can involve counselors also for the purpose of settling down a child in a different system. That's what I wanted to say on this issue. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. Sir, this induction program is very interesting because if I go back to HR theory in an MBA, in organizational behavior, you would typically hear about rites of passage and how somebody's entry into a company or exit from a company, everything has to have a certain rite of passage, which I think is what your induction program is doing, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Dr. Gupta, if I may stay with you, Kavita ma'am referred to something earlier. This was the parents' expectation. Now, with army kids, it's a little different because they shift around so frequently that shifting is the expectation. That if a kid is in school for more than 3 years, the kid is wondering, "Kya ho gaya?" But with, let's say, bank employees or central government officers who are shifting after 7, 8 years, the parents also come with a set of baggage. Right? They have their expectations. They will come to you and say, "In my last school, this is what happened. Why are you doing things like this?" How do you manage the parents in this case?
When it comes to means the shifting and they have some expectations and as we from the parents कि पिछले स्कूल में तो ऐसा हुआ करता था. So for that, as I told you, that we need to check the background. What was the background? What are the aspirations of the student, aspirations of the parents? So everything and what was the background of that previous school? Then we need to, every school has their own unique selling point. That our school is also having, and every school have their own. Now we need to compare that thing with our system. When we say ना कि उस स्कूल में तो ऐसा होता था, तो उससे मिलता जुलता कुछ हमारे स्कूल में भी होता होगा, because we are also following the same curriculum. So somewhere down the line, if we look around, so something in comparison we are also doing, and we need to make them understand they were doing the same thing in this way and we are doing it in this way. That is the only difference. Otherwise, the main goal of both the schools is same. Because for one school, we cannot change the entire system of ours. And if we find that if we gather something important from them which we are not doing, and we feel that it is good to be implemented, it will be a learning point for us. There's no harm in learning and implementing a new thing if it is in benefit of the organization or a child. So we should be open for new changes. When we are expecting a child to be open for changes, we should be also be open for changes. And if we can gather anything good from other schools that we can implement, or if something is there which we are already doing in a different way, that needs to be communicated to them. Communication is very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Gaurav, you next. Same question.
Yes, sir.
With parents in this situation, because parents are also shifting. They are undertaking a massive logistical challenge, and in the middle, their children are shifting schools. So there's a lot of angst and anxiety that would come. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, of course, the problem is faced in all these schools. Even if you know whether it's army school, whether the parents are coming from some other city or the parents are coming from the same city also, it is also there that parents change the school within the city only. Even if you know that they haven't been transferred from somewhere, but they do transfer the students because of the one or the other reason. As one of the reasons told by Dr. Gupta is generally the trend is that child is studying up to class 10th in ICSE school, and then the people, most of the parents, a majority of the parents, I will say, that they prefer their children in class 11 to be in some CBSE school. It's generally a trend. I don't know what about the reasons are there, but people have got their different theories. Somebody say that the course of ICSE is tough in class 11th and 12th, and then in case if the child is shifted to CBSE, so CBSE focuses on NCERT books. So coming back to the point that it's within the city also the transfer is there. I mean, without the parents being transferred, the children are transferred from one school to other. So there, of course, it happens in case if the present school is able to cope up with all the things and is in a position to satisfy the parents' need or the child's need in a better way. So, of course, the question of that nagging by the parents will never come up. But in case somewhere if they find that the earlier school was better off in one or the other way, So obviously that question comes. So for that, as a remedy, I will say कुछ हद तक जो मैं कह सकता हूँ, not specific remedy. We do conduct the PTMs for the new parents. There is, one general PTM where all the parents they come, but there is one PTM conducted in the beginning of the session and then during the middle of the session, particularly for the parents, those who are the newcomers, where the children have come, those who have joined in this particular session only. So that the parents are, they are invited there. The new parents are invited, and then their queries are definitely tried to be solved out once they have got some sort of queries, some sort of complaints, and some sort of suggestions. So definitely if they are patiently heard. So as a tactful class teacher, as a tactful coordinator, as a tactful principal, in case if you are able to listen to the people properly and patiently, so half of the problems are sorted out. I'm telling you, most of the people, I think this is a psychological factor, that it's a fact that once you are listening to somebody patiently, so half of the complaint goes off. And once you are saying no, agar aapko aisa hai, aap usi school mein chale jao, and no, we are doing everything best. Even if we are doing best and we are saying that no, we are doing everything best, so you better take your child away, something like that. So then the problems are doubled. So that's why I'm saying that patience hearing is required. And once a case is heard patiently, so half of the complaint goes off there itself. So that's what we try to do. We have got these special PTMs for these parents, those newcomer students. We do have got the remedial classes for such students, those who are coming late, who are new entrants, and they are coming later, say in the month of August, September and all. So we do have got some remedial classes also for these students. Means the course, whatever course has been completed by the teachers earlier. So we do try to devote 1 hour to these students, and we ask the parents also in between that in case if child has got some problem, the child can stay back 1 hour then the school, and teachers generally they stay back in the school after the school gets over. They generally stay back for 1 or 2 hours. So during that particular time, the teachers devote some time to solve out the queries, to solve out the problems of these students, those who are joining you. So these are some of the remedies, and the underlying fact is, or the crux of the thing that I want to say is patient hearing. If you are listening to the parents or the students, so half of their problem is gone. But if you are somewhat, arrogantly you are saying something, nahi, hum sab kuch theek kar rahe hain, though we know that we are doing everything best, we may be doing far better than their earlier school, but then that problem will remain. That nagging by the parent will remain if suppose we are a little bit arrogant. So on our part also, a little bit of some sort of moderation is required by us. So that's Mr. Roy, that I want. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Kavita ma'am, I'll come to you next. You had originally raised this point about having, parents having different sets of expectations, especially in the younger classes. Ma'am, I have heard from Dr. Gaur and Dr. Gupta that patient hearing is important, open communication channels are important. But here's what I have seen personally, that when students shift into new schools, and especially, it's a tendency to act out because they're not in their familiar surroundings, they are seeing new people around, and they will act out. So when you call parents in, they are parents to students who have not acted out before. How do they treat the situation?
Well, sir, when it comes to child acting differently, we also need to understand that even at this part of our time, we find it difficult to adjust to a particular place or a situation. So they are children after all. So we need to just be kind and sweet to them. They may even throw tantrums. You may have to use your school counselor. And sir was talking about buddy system. That is also there. But we also try and instill a foster parenting, a teacher to whom this child can always go and share their problems. And at this kind of a situation, slowly the child learns to depend on this teacher and give vent to their feelings. If they're angry, they are expressing why they are angry. And when it comes to adjusting to the teaching style, it may take a little bit of a time for the child to adapt, but it shouldn't take that much of a time for a teacher to adapt to the child's requirement. Especially in the lower classes, there are different ways of expressing things, and teachers are quite innovative these days. So they can look at ways and means, and even get a feedback from the child as to how the previous school teaching has been better. And at that particular time, maybe the teacher will get a better idea to work something else for this child. So it is a matter of time and understanding and patience on the side of everybody. And as I told you, the parents are people who generally compare, and they compare. We were in the city and we've come to the rural area. My child is not having those facilities and all that. But then you may have to try and explain to them that the rural has its advantage, which the city doesn't have, and the vice versa. So it goes both ways. So it is a matter of time where you need to convince the parents, especially Dr. Gaur was talking about children coming in the later part of the session, the senior students especially, mid-session and all that. They do come in, and most schools try not to give an admission for the mid-session into the board classes. But since I worked in the army school, we could never do that because parents get their transfer at any point of time. So we used to get special sanction from the CBSE and give admissions. So it makes a lot of difference as to how this child is adapting, because supposing a child has come from Delhi to Wellington. Delhi has got all the coaching centers and facilities, whereas Wellington doesn't have any of these facilities. But what the child gets in Wellington would be different to that of Delhi, because in Wellington, if you look at the child, it is the teacher giving individual attention. Whereas in the cities, they're not bothered about whether the child is able to get through the teacher. If not this teacher, they go to a tutorial center and they patch up for their difficulties. So a relationship is built between. So it depends upon how you want to carry on. And the children also will face situations where they slowly get to adapt to this situation. And foster parenting definitely helps, because to have somebody with whom they can share. Sometimes they can't share everything with their parent. So this is a person, probably they might slowly start opening up. And with the help of the school counselor also, we are able to work quite a bit of adaptability among the children.
Wonderful, ma'am.
Even during this pandemic, the need of this kind of discussion has increased, because there are cases coming in where, due to any problem, a child has not taken any classes last year, and now schools are reopened, and now he's coming that my child's year should not be spoiled. He was studying at the home, and now he should be admitted, or he should be covered up, and now he should be allowed to come to the school. We didn't have network and that all. So means there's a gap of the school for a year or 1.5 years, and now they are coming back to the school. So that time coping up with such kind of means problems with the children, that needs to be taken care of.
So at this time of pandemic, quite a few children have lost their parents, or
Yeah. These problems are
so those psychological factors. So the school counselor, the teachers, they have to play a very, very tough role in
very
keeping
important
the
role.
children, at peace. So it is a little bit difficult, but I think the teachers have done a commendable job, like the doctors, in keeping the children engaged with education despite all the difficulties faced across the country, across the globe. So I think I
teachers in
salute
this
my
pandemic
teachers.
are unrecognized corona warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree, Dr. Gupta. And unfortunately, many teachers have not got the full salary also. That has been the
maximum
cause of
teachers,
exploitation.
except for government department, maximum teachers in private sector still are not getting full salary. and their role is means has improved not only as a teacher, but now they have to be a counselor and a parent of a
They
child
are
also
the
up to great
they are
extent.
the unrecognized corona warriors.
Yeah, unrecognized.
Anyway, yes, sir.
So this is something that we have completely, learned over the last 1.5 years. The kind of stuff teachers have done during this entire Corona period, and at the cost of their own personal comfort, their equations in their houses. I have relatives who are teachers who've had fights with the family because they are sitting in the dining room and they are conducting a class when somebody else also needs a laptop for their office meeting. The kind of troubles that you've gone through is incredible, and we take our hats off collectively to the fantastic work that teachers have done. But I think Dr. Gupta gave me a very good segue because Ochin spoke about teachers in lateral transfer, and we have so far discussed about students and parents, which brings us to the fourth current pillar of the education system, the pandemic. Uh, Dr. Gore, if I may start with you, sir,
Right.
with most of our learning right now happening online, if I look at pan India situation,
Yeah.
the new students who are coming in are not getting benefit of all these rites of passage, right? That induction program or the buddy system and everything else does not translate as well to the online method as perhaps teaching does, classroom teaching does. So how do you
Right.
deal with that in this situation? Do you get a lot of transfer requests now?
Yeah, we have got the problem. We also face the problem in Varanasi schools. The first problem faced, first of all, I'll come to the point, your point. First of all, Dr. Gupta raised one issue that there are some cases now that where the parents, because they were not having the resources or they did not want to pay. Some of the parents, those who were having the resources also, they because there were some misleading messages in the newspapers that well the government will waive off the entire fee of the schools. So many parents, even if they were having the resources, they did not pay deliberately. That once the government notification comes, we did not pay the school fee, but it didn't happen because ultimately it was said that well the government has sent the surplus to all the schools. Well, you are not supposed to pressurize the parents for paying the fee, but definitely they have to pay the fee. And then they went to the court also, and the court also gave the verdict in favor of the schools. Well, we have to take the fee. So some parents, the children, they deliberately did not ask them to. They were having the resources also. They did not allow them कि नहीं आपको बैठना नहीं है एग्जाम इसमें नहीं करना आपको ऑनलाइन क्लासेस you are not to attend, and then started arguing with the schools also कि well the child did not appear in the exam in any class in any online class, so we will not pay the school fee during that particular month. It happened. It's happening still. And in other case, what happened that for 1 year they did not pay the school fee, and then there are certain other malpractices also used by some of the parents. I'll definitely deliberately use the word malpractice. That there are schools which are giving the TC, they are giving the past TC of well the child did not appear entire year the child did not study. Say the child was in class 8 and the child did not go for the study online, offline, anything. And now, they have brought some TCs and mark sheet from some other school that the child has passed class 8 and now the child must get admission in class 9. So of course they are exposed also once they go through the written examination. So they are exposed. So obviously we are able to catch hold of such students also. But this also going on. Somehow the trickery by the parents also, and unfortunately by the well-off parents, those who are able to manage the things. But it happens. So Dr. Gupta raised that particular point. I think he was also referring to that particular point. Now, so far as Mr. Roy, your query was there that how you are dealing with such people. That there have been people. We have a many number of BPL students, those who are below poverty line, sponsored by the government, and some from EWS, economically weaker sections also, where they were not able to pay the fee, but still, as for the RT, they were given admissions. So they were definitely the people, those who are not having the gadgets with them. So for them, as my case is concerned, my school is concerned, I was in touch with such parents also through telephone, and we're asking them, "You come? Okay, pandemic is there, schools are closed, but definitely teachers were being called sometimes for 2-3 hours. Even non-teaching staff was present. So we were present, and we are giving them the notes that were being prepared by the teachers. We are we are getting that photocopied and giving to such parents. So number one was this one. If your child is not able to attend the online classes because lack of the gadgets, so we can give you the notes. So those notes are being provided. Then now the things have in almost all these states, like in particularly UP, all these schools are open now from 1st of September. So this problem is coming. The children are not able to appear in the UTPT1 examinations because they did not study. So we are helping them out through the same mode that we are giving them the notes, and we have even asked some of the parents, this particular unit test or PT that we are conducting right now, this periodic test, we will conduct this test for your children after 1 month. So this one this testing we are doing for our children. So that is a small compliment from our side. Well, we can do that. We'll help them out. Again, the question coming that we are considering it more sympathetically, and we are for the education, and we are for everybody. So that is the things that being followed in my school.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Gupta, if I may come to you, sir.
Actually, in this, we are, Dr. Gaura said what is to be done. And in addition to this, we are also sharing videos of the lectures which were taken by, because all the lectures in last 1.5 years, whatever has been taken by our teachers are being recorded, and they are, means they are there with us. So we are even sharing those lectures with them, that whenever they can see it, and they can learn out of it. In a school also, we are, because these days, entire school is not running. Schools are open, but still schools are open with some restrictions. So our teachers are staying back for 2 hours. And during that 2 hours, such kind of students, wherever requirements are there, we are asking them to stay back. And so that teachers can give them extra help for their improvement, because definitely somewhere at end of the day, our teachers has to take pain, and they have to bring the child up. No doubt, in online teaching, parents has also played a very big role as a teacher, because in online lectures, the parents has to get into teaching their child. But wherever requirement means, wherever parents were not able to do, teachers has to take pain, and teachers are doing their best, whatever they can do in this scenario.
Thank you so much, sir. Kavita,
Sir, in my school, we had about 10 students who couldn't afford a mobile or a tab. So we sought for the help from the local NGOs who were ready to help these kids, and we have given them gadgets to support their learning, and which will be returned back to the school so that it can be circulated in different situations also. So as long as they're using it when the online classes are going on, it's been quite a helpful situation. So I think schools can approach, even there will be parents who can afford things in a school. I mean, especially who are into business and things like that. So some of them are ready to help, fellow students of their their own children and their classmates who may not be having that kind of facility. So I think we can try different approaches, but yes, of course, we also give printed notes to the parents, irrespective of whether they are having a gadget for learning or no, because hard copy is always a better way of learning than sitting 24/7 with the mobile. So I somehow feel that we call in the parents once a month to submit their periodic test papers or something. At that time, we give them the notes for the next month. So every time the parents also come and collect it. We don't encourage students to come during the pandemic, but now that the schools have reopened for 9 and above in Tamil Nadu, all the students of these classes are coming, but the smaller children, the parents come, they collect the notes for the children, and they attend the classes also. So it's been quite convenient. In fact, if you look at the irony of this, I think somehow children have learned to adapt to this new kind of learning also.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like being in a different place, an unreachable place, but they're still being able to attend classes, which might not have been practical in a regular schooling situation. So some of them feel this is much more convenient than actually coming physically, except they don't get to meet their friends physically, and they don't get to play. So the physical education has suffered, but otherwise I think technology wise they're not disturbed. Like in class you would have had many other kind of distractions, which is not happening in the smart classes that is going on these days.
Wonderful, ma'am. I just realized all three of you, Tiruchenagod, Muzaffarnagar, and Varanasi. Given the income distribution in our country the way it is, you would typically have a large population in your town or village or city who have moved to the nearby metro city for their livelihood. And they would have lost, some of them might have lost their jobs or their livelihood during this pandemic. Are you seeing a lot of people who move back and therefore you're getting transfer requests?
There are a lot of people who are migrating back to the villages, like especially people who have been working in the IT industries and various places. They're now doing work from home kind of job. So a lot of admissions are coming under such situations also.
Is it the same experience with Dr. Gaur and Dr. Gupta as well?
No, in our school, I have not found any case of this kind. That well, except for one case was there. He lost the job, but later on he got the job, and he was having some fee pendency. Still, his last year's fees is also pending, but gradually he will pay because last month he has got the job. Otherwise, majorly, if I see, so we haven't got such kind of cases.
Dr. Gaur?
Yeah, Mr. Roy, we did not face that much problem of taking the TCs and all, but we did face and we are facing the problem of non-payment of fee. Somehow the parents are coming and due to giving the alibi of all these pandemic and all, so somehow somebody has got fee pending for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months like that.
And that is still there.
We do
It's a pan-India issue. It's a pan-India issue.
So we are considering that. Otherwise, we did not face much of the problem of people taking TC and all, because ultimately they know that it's a matter of future of the children. So they will linger on, and we'll also linger on with them. We'll have some patience also with them, and they are also they know that they have to pay, whether it's after 5 months, whether it's after 6 months, they have to pay the fee, and nobody will be definitely going scot free in that way. So they understand us, and we also understand them, and we both the parties are pulling on well, fortunately so far, Mr. Roy.
Cool. On that very positive note, it's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you all for sparing your time. For me personally, it's been a very enriching experience. As Dr. Gaur earlier said, this is not a topic that you typically find in school forums discussing this. But let's just look at this. We have somehow figured out a topic that others have not addressed, that requires separate PTMs, that requires buddies, that requires foster parents, that requires
Yeah.
extensive rites of passage. So, well, I think it was a topic well chosen. Ochin, you have a lot to thank for.
Sure.
So I'll welcome you to do the official vote of thanks.
Well, really, I think wonderful session. And to start with, first and foremost, I think what Dr. Gaur said, and also I think Dr. Gupta, all the facts, in fact, and this is something which we at Notebook definitely believe, the contribution of teachers across the globe, especially in a great nation that we've seen during the last 1.5 years, in spite of so many challenges, in spite of schools being closed, schooling still being on, children not losing a precious academic year. This is a huge contribution, I believe. Contribution as big as workers in any sector. So when you say that, yes, teachers have been corona warriors, of course, yes, there's no doubt about it. And personally, considering the fact that we work closely with so many schools, more than 2,000 schools, I personally get a chance to interact with so many esteemed educators. I can tell this to you that commitment that we have seen in educators, the kind of resolve we have seen, and how fast they have been able to adapt. Teachers, senior teachers who have been teaching in a conventional manner, in a conventional way for decades, how fast they have adapted to the new system for the sake of the children, and they have ensured that schooling is on. Their hats off to them. No word of praise is enough. So I think we really had a great session, Kavita ma'am. Thank you so much for being a part of this, for gracing the platform. Yes, ma'am, we undoubtedly agree with you that adjusting to a new place is a challenge even for grown-ups. So of course, for children, we need to be like very considerate and patient with them. I think the entire concept of foster parenting that you spoke of, I really found that very interesting. Counselors, foster parenting, and also I think along with patience, what is needed is understanding and giving it time that you spoke of in detail. So to understand that, so to ensure the children become comfortable. I think a really wonderful point. Dr. Gaur, thank you so much for being a part of this hours gathering. I think very mature deliberations, that the buddy concept with which you mentioned, really a wonderful concept. At a point of time, Dr. Gupta also touched upon it in the form of student guardian that he has seen during his boarding school days. So I think really goes on a very long way to ensure that children are made comfortable, made to feel at home, which is so important, right? And also, I think the role of teachers, coordinators, principals that we discussed of in detail, and remedial classes, I really found that very interesting and very helpful for children, so as to ensure that they don't miss out on anything. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Dr. Gupta, thank you. Dr. Gupta, I thank you for very beautifully highlighting these three aspects: academic, socio-cultural, and third, linguistic, which is also so important, often ignored, but really very important. And the reason of transfer, which you very rightly mentioned, that very often mentioned in the TC, but very seldom looked at in details. But reason of transfer undoubtedly is very important. It goes a long way to ensure that we really understand the purpose and try to ensure that we do justice to it. So I think really wonderful session we had. All thanks to our esteemed panelists for throwing so much light in this important topic. I'm sure our educators in this forum who attended this session found this very useful. We indeed look forward to your support in the days to come. Thank you. Take care and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.